What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Witching Hour. If you're new here, I am Lance. If you're returning, welcome back. Now, today I saw this on this channel called Most Amazing Top 10. Now, this title is called Dark Secrets Hidden in the Vatican That Could Change Everything. I thought this might be a pretty interesting video to check out. I'll leave the link for Most Amazing Top 10 down below. And yeah, let's get right into this. Here we go.
The Vatican's secret archives, shady dealings with criminal organizations, and mysterious deaths. These are dark secrets hidden in the Vatican that could change everything. The Vatican Secret Archives, one of the greatest sources of conspiracies when it comes to the church, and with a name like that, you can't really blame anyone for speculating about all the dark and depraved things that could be hidden inside. I mean, why do people keep secrets in the first place, right? The name's been changed to the Vatican Apostolic Archive now, which I imagine has to have something to do with all the attention it was getting before. These archives hold centuries of church history, letters, documents, maybe even artifacts, secrets that could reveal things about the darker side of the church or completely change how we view history. Some say that the Vatican supposedly has papers that could change our entire understanding of early Christianity, including texts that didn't make it into the Bible or documentation about historical figures, people whose stories the church may not want us to know about. There are even conspiracy theories claiming that the Vatican has proof that Jesus wasn't who the church says he was, or that some of the earliest Christian writings contradict how the Bible is currently taught. The Vatican Bank, or as it's officially called, the Institute for the Works of Religion, has had a pretty eventful history. Let's just say it's no stranger to scandal. Back in the 80s, the Vatican Bank was caught up in a huge mess when Banco Ambrosiano, Italy's largest private bank at the time, collapsed. It came out that there were shady dealings going on involving the Vatican. The bank had ties to the Vatican Bank, and the Vatican was accused of turning a blind eye to what was going on, mainly money laundering and fraud. Roberto Calvi,
You expect that with the mob, not with the Vatican. What the hell? They're kind of shady deals for their robes and shit. What the hell's going on here?
Chairman of the bank was found hanging from a bridge in London in 1982, and many believe he was whacked because he was getting too close to exposing the Vatican's involvement. Coroners thought he was killed. An independent investigation came to the same conclusion, but nobody's ever gone to jail and the case is still unsolved. But the bank had plenty of shady characters in and around it. Even today, some believe the Vatican Bank still gets up to some shady stuff. Pope John
The Vatican has hired muscle? What the hell's going on?
Paul I died just 33 days into his role as the Pope. Officially, the cause of death was a heart attack, but there's always been rumors that there could be more to the story. Pope John Paul I was different from a lot of the popes that came before him. He seemed to want to make big changes in the Vatican. He wanted to clean up the Vatican's finances and address the corruption in the church. He was vocal about wanting to reform the way the Vatican operated, and this didn't sit well with everyone. Some believe that the Pope was taken out by those who felt threatened by all the changes he was setting out to make. Not only did he die suddenly, he was buried suddenly. The Vatican seemed like they were in a rush to handle the situation. John Paul's body had been discovered by a nun who had access to his private rooms, and within hours, arrangements for his funeral were already made. There wasn't even an autopsy. The Vatican just said he died of a heart attack and that an autopsy wasn't necessary. The Vatican's actions, or lack thereof, during World War II have been highly criticized for decades. Pope Pius XII, who served during the war, faced a lot of criticism for not speaking out more against the Third Reich. He's also been cited with quietly helping some Jews escape, but he didn't publicly condemn the German regime, which has led to this conspiracy about the Pope possibly having been in cahoots. But others think the Church chose to stay silent to avoid making things worse, working behind the scenes to do their part. The Vatican was in a delicate position during the war. Of course, they wanted to maintain their influence, but at the same time, they wanted to avoid becoming a target. Could Pope Pius have done more? The Church has been accused of not doing enough, that they put their own survival over the lives of millions of others. It's pretty dark, but it's less hard to believe when you consider this next accusation. See, it turns out that the Vatican and even the Red Cross helped Yahtzee officers escape after the war by using rat lines, secret routes that helped war criminals flee to South America and avoid extradition.
Sean Combs is a monster.
He thought if people fear him, they respect him.
I want to speak about this
tradition. There's been talk for years about the Vatican's ties to organized crime, especially when it comes to money. The Vatican Bank has been accused of being used by the mafia to launder cash and move money around without drawing attention. The mafia has had a hand in the Vatican's financial dealings, particularly in Italy, where they've used the church's connections to hide their tracks, supposedly. But it's not just about money, it's also about power. Some think the Vatican turned a blind eye to the illegal stuff because they were benefiting from the arrangement. Could there have been a secret deal between the church and the mafia? I don't know. I'm just relaying things that have been talked about for a very long time. I'm not making any of this up, nor do I have any more information other than what's available online. Don't come after me, the mafia or the Vatican. The Jesuits are one of the most powerful religious orders in the Vatican, but most people only know them for their educational and missionary work. Behind the scenes, though, some think they have far more influence than anyone realizes. They're rumored to be the ones pulling the strings in the Vatican, controlling major decisions and possibly even influencing who gets chosen as Pope. They have political connections and money, and some see them as the real power in the Vatican. Some even think they played a big role in getting Pope Francis into power. It's hard to prove. It's clear that the Jesuits do have a lot of influence. They're involved in banking and, again, education and politics. So what role do they really play in the Vatican's decisions? It's anyone's guess, but it's hard to ignore their presence in the background. The Shroud of Turin is one of the most famous religious artifacts.
There could be a lot of validity to that. Usually the ones in the background are usually the biggest puppeteers, you know?
In the world. It's said to be the burial cloth of Jesus Christ, and it's kept under extremely tight security in the Vatican. But what's the deal with it really? Is the shroud really the cloth that Jesus was wrapped in after his crucifixion, or is it just an elaborate medieval fake? Scientists have tried to date the shroud using carbon dating, but the results have been inconclusive. Some believe the Vatican is keeping the shroud's secrets hidden because it may contain proof of the supernatural, maybe evidence of Christ's resurrection. That seems unlikely to me, though. I feel like if there was somehow proof of that in the artifact, that they'd be very enthusiastic about sharing that in the world. In fact, you'd probably just never hear the end of it. The other argument is, of course, that the shroud could contain evidence that may disprove the resurrection altogether. Whatever the truth, though, the fact that the Vatican's kept the thing so close to the vest has led to all sorts of conspiracy theories. The Inquisition was a terrifying period in history where the Catholic Church brutally persecuted anyone it considered a heretic. For centuries, people were attacked, burned at the stake, and forced to confess to crimes they didn't commit. The Church was actively involved in these trials, and while it was presented as a way to protect the faith, the reality was a lot darker. The Vatican's role in the Inquisition has been downplayed over the years, but a lot of historians argue that the Church was directly involved in these horrific practices. The fact that the Church still suppresses many of the records from this period goes to show that it doesn't really want the full extent of what went on to be known to the public. Could there be more documents or testimonies in the Vatican's archives that would show just how much the Church was involved in the Inquisition? Possibly. I'll just say it wouldn't be surprising in the slightest. The Inquisition was less about holding up rules to live by sent from a higher power. It was really how the Vatican decided to maintain its control over the population. Prophecies of Saint Malachi are said to
that seems like the more possibility right there, right? Having control.
Predict every pope in history, right up to the very end of time. The prophecies are pretty interesting because they seem to match the popes in incredible detail, with each pope being given a brief description that fits their papacy in some way. The prophecy ends with a final pope, who is supposedly going to be the one who leads the church through its final days. Many people are convinced that the prophecy is real, and some even think that we're living in the final days of the church right now, the last pope yet to be revealed. Now, why does the Vatican keep quiet about these prophecies? Could there be a reason the church doesn't want us to know that it may all be predicted in advance? I don't know. I'm not really one for believing in these so-called prophecies, but what do you all think? Let me know down below. To close things out, the Vatican just isn't all about religion. It's its own sovereign state, and it has been involved in world politics for a very long time. People think it's just focused on faith, but the Vatican has had a big hand in shaping global events. Some even say it helped influence wars and political elections, including the Cold War. With connections all over the world, the Vatican's been known to support political movements that help in its own interests. How much power does the Vatican really have? Could it be secretly controlling events without us realizing it? With all that said, I'm telling you now to check us out on our next video. I'll see you next time.
That's very interesting. I keep on forgetting about how influential the Vatican can be. I really do forget about that sometimes. I shouldn't be so surprised, but I guess because we really don't hear about the Vatican in the news every day. I don't in particular. So yeah, that's kind of makes you wonder. The whole mob thing, that kind of threw me off guard though. That was the thing that kind of like, ooh, dude, taking out hits on people. You got hired muscle here. Wow. You do it like that? Wow. Just run up on fools like that, huh? Is that how the Vatican rolls? Wow. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this. And yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was very interesting. There were some things I didn't know about. And some things that kind of remind me, yeah, I remember hearing about that. How influential they are. Yeah, I forgot about that. It's not just all about religion, which I always kind of go to my default thinking that it's just all that. But yeah, but let me know in the comments and take care of yourself, take care of each other. Love, peace, and grease, and bye.